Hey guys, Jimmy here with another episode. I'm going to show you my PlayStation 3 collection today, and I am so excited. I love my PlayStation 3 collection. There's just some great games that the PS3 has to offer. I'm going to go to my game room right now and go over these games, and I've got a lot to cover, so let's get started. Okay, start things off with Uncharted Drake's Fortune. Now, this is a great introduction to the series. I know a lot of people thought this one was, inferior to Uncharted 2. But I think this is a great game, a great introduction to the series. You get acquainted and get to know the main characters of the game, the gameplay mechanics, and it's a great looking game as well. And I think Naughty Dog did a phenomenal job. It doesn't have a lot of things that's in Uncharted 2, such as the multiplayer, and also the bar has been raised in terms of visuals for the sequel, or sequels. But this is a great game, and I highly recommend that you pick this one up if you still haven't gotten it. Uncharted 3 is going to be here very soon, and it's definitely worth having in your collection. Uncharted 2, by far one of the best games this generation. Naughty Dog, they really went above and beyond the first game. This game got so many Game of the Year awards and definitely deserved it. This game, it just does so many things so right. Phenomenal single player experience, but also it includes an incredible multiplayer experience as well. Now for Uncharted 2, of course there's a sequel coming up in November, Uncharted 3. But for this game right here, Naughty Dog had released 200 Fortune 100 editions, and I did not get my hands on one of those. It came with a dagger, and it came with some other stuff that you got, which is pretty amazing. They go on eBay for thousands of dollars. There is a gamer in the YouTube community by the name of Rachel Moore, and she actually did a PS3 collection video of herself a while back, and she did one for my channel. I'll include that. And in this video, she just basically talks about a few of the collector editions that she has, and she shows off her Fortune 100 edition, which is pretty awesome. I'll include a link so you can check that out for yourself. Hopefully someday I'll be able to pick up the Fortune 100 edition. I'm a big fan of Collector's Edition, and that one's pretty sweet. But even if you can't afford or have the chance to find the Fortune 100 edition, this is a phenomenal game, and it definitely belongs in your collection if you have a PlayStation 3. Infamous, now this is a game actually by Sucker Punch, and it was actually in development, in the beginning stage of development, long before the PS3 hit the retail shelves. And it actually wasn't, this was not a launch title. The PS3 had been out for a little while before this game was released. A phenomenal open world game. I love the fact that you have the chance to play the game, whether you want to make good choices or bad choices, and develop Cole the way you see fit. It really encourages replayability. Even though there's this huge city to explore, it definitely encourages a replayability with the different choices that you make. Now, just recently, Sucker Punch released Infamous 2, and this is a phenomenal game, guys. I love this game. I did a review for it, and I think it's one of the best games for 2011. For me, one of the big differences for Infamous 2 and the first Infamous game is in terms of how challenging the game was. If you had really no problem playing through the first Infamous game, I highly recommend that you play this one on a higher setting than normal. I played this game on normal, and it really wasn't that much of a challenge. It was a lot more challenging in the first game, in my opinion. But other than that, this actually was more of a more fast-paced than the first Infamous game, and I loved so much about it. It had an incredible story. just a very interesting city or area to explore. Definitely different types of scenery you'll experience in this one. It offers more variety. You're not just in the city. You're also going to be like in the swamps and also neighborhoods that have been flooded. So different, not just the concrete jungle, but you'll get to experience other areas as well. I did end up picking up the Hero Edition, and this is a great collector's edition. It does come with the backpack, Cole statue, DC comic book, of course the game, some DLC stuff, and also the soundtrack. Great music in the game. Glad I was able to pick this up. And we'll see what will take place. Sony recently acquired Sucker Punch, so it'll be interesting to see what is up in the future in terms of Sucker Punch's future for game development. Be very interested for that. Okay, another game that was in development for quite some time that a lot of people were really looking forward to, and that is Metal Gear Solid 4. This is a phenomenal game. A lot of people were turned off by this game in terms of the amount of cutscenes that were in this game. This is a game that has an epic story, and that story is pretty long. This is also a game that certain moments of the game you're going to have to use your brain to learn how to get from point A to point B, but this is just a phenomenal game. I love it. A phenomenal PS3 exclusive. I think there might be a demo, but this is the type of game, sometimes there's demos available. I would recommend just picking this one up. This is definitely one that needs to be in your PS3 collection. God of War 3, played through this game, loved it. I think the visuals in this game are some of the best visuals I've seen this generation. And the storyline is pretty epic. I loved playing through the game and getting the different new abilities that Kratos attained. I thought that was really cool. Of course, there's an epic soundtrack for this one. A lot of people are unsure if there's going to be a new trilogy, if there's perhaps going to be a new main character. I'd be very surprised if there was not in the near future. This one was a huge moneymaker for Sony. I think it sold around 4 or 5 million copies, which is a big deal. This is a quality game. You can tell they spent a lot of time and resources on it. There's a demo for this one, and I would highly recommend that you check out the demo to kind of get an idea on how the game looks and kind of a small taste in terms of how epic this game is. And I think you could pick this one up for pretty cheap, at the store, especially used. Probably pick this one up for a really good deal. Another game, in my opinion, that's underrated or wasn't. A lot of critics really like this game, but it didn't sell as well as I wanted to. I know Sega was kind of happy with the sales. It reached around 1 million for the PS3 and Xbox 360. That's Vanquish. This game is unbelievable. I'm playing through this game. There's some moments I'm like, I can't believe what I'm seeing here. I'm a big fan of Gears of War for the 360, the third-person shooter, take cover. This game's like Gears of War on crack. There's not multiplayer, but it's pretty crazy. There is a demo available for it. Check out the demo, but dude, playing through the different levels, it's pretty awesome. Now, Rage's story, it's pretty amazing. You have different weapons, obviously, that you find in the game, but you've got this special suit, and you can get from point A to point B by kind of like laying on your back in kind of like a jetpack mode, where you slide on the ground, and as you're sliding on the ground, you can shoot down enemies. And sometimes you can go into slow motion, so you can kind of get the aim and get these enemies in your in the crosshairs or in the aiming area. Just a phenomenal game. It's outrageous, some of the story moments in this one, but it's pretty good. It's pretty intense. Not the longest game in the world, but in my opinion, you definitely get your money's worth. You probably pick this one up for a really good deal. Lost Planet 2. Now, the first Lost Planet game I loved. I really liked it. I really loved the multiplayer. I was a little bit disappointed with Lost Planet 2. They kept on saying how you get to defeat these massive monsters with co-op. And this is the type of game that you really do need to play this game with friends, because you're not going to have that good of a time taking down these beasts by yourself. You definitely want to do this or play this game with your friends. But the multiplayer, people are still playing it, and definitely can be an enjoyable experience. Just Cause 2, this is a gorgeous game, and the area to explore is huge. Whether you want to hop in a motorcycle, a boat, a helicopter, a jet, there's just so many different vehicles to check out. The world is huge. It's a little bit overwhelming at times though, but just a blast to play with the different weapons. You've also got this grappling hook that you can kind of, fast travel from a tree or a building. If you can attach this grappling hook, you bring yourself to the area that you need to get to. And this is a great game. I had a lot of fun with this one. You hop in a helicopter and just start shooting rockets and missiles at different buildings and bad guys. And pretty good stuff. Like I said, a little overwhelming at times, but definitely worth having in your collection. Dark Void by Capcom, not that great of a game. Not really recommended. I know Capcom wanted to try something new. I think the main character in this game is the same voice actor as Drake in Uncharted. He's done like a bunch of different voice acting, but not that great of a game. I think there's a downloadable Dark Void game for the DSi maybe, or there's some 2D game, Dark Void, and that one's actually supposed to be pretty good. It's supposed to be a lot better than this one. This one you have like a jetpack, you go around flying around, taking down the enemies and the different aircrafts that are out there. Kind of reminds me of that movie Rocketeer, just very similar to that. This game's probably as good as the Rocketeer game for the SNES. The next one is a game that I got as a bundle. I got the Bluetooth edition, headset edition of SOCOM Confrontation. This is a game that I was pretty disappointed with. It is a third-person shooter. It is online only, and I played it, and man, just was not for me. I know there's a lot of SOCOM fans for the PS2 that were really disappointed with this one as well. There's a lot of things that needed to be fixed, and they did fix a lot of those issues, but yeah, this game's just not for me. I know there's SOCOM 4, and I still need to check that one out. Brutal Legend, this is a great third-person action game. I had a lot of fun with this one. It's an interesting game because it also has some strategy elements in it, different modes. It also has online, but playing through the game, the main character is Jack Black, and it has a huge cast like Ozzy Osbourne, Lemmy, a lot of heavy metal legends. I think it also has Lita Ford. It's funny because at my work, my coworkers are really into like 80s metal, 70s metal, and a lot of those metal legends are in this game. But definitely a great game with a great sense of humor. I was really impressed with this one, and I'm kind of bummed because this game really wasn't that well received. It didn't do a whole lot of sales. It did get some pretty decent reviews, but I really enjoyed Brutal Legend. I think it's phenomenal, and Jack Black did a great game. Jack Black, actually, he's definitely a gamer, and you can tell he really put his heart and soul into this one. This is a Tim Schafer game. Tim Schafer is known for making high-quality games, and it's definitely worth picking up. I think it's available for the PC. I know it's available for the Xbox 360, but it's really good. Okay, another game that in my opinion is a little underrated, and that's Eat Lead, The Return of Matt Hazard. This is a game that I really like. This is another this is a third-person shooter, and in the game it has a great sense of humor. You play as this kind of washed-up video game star, video game legend, and you try to kind of build yourself up, get back into the game, and it makes fun of other gaming franchises like Gears of War and Perfect Dark and Tomb Raider and Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers, which is pretty funny. Some of the stuff in this game has some pretty good voice acting. It does get a little bit repetitive at times, but I really enjoy this one. I thought it was very funny and unique and interesting. Definitely check it out. Wet. This is actually a decent game. I was actually pretty impressed with it. It's got some epic moments. I know this one was hit pretty hard by some of the reviewers out there. A lot of gamers were turned off by this one, but I liked it. I thought it's a pretty insane, intense game. Just like a crazy action Hollywood movie. Has those moments in this one where you're jumping from car to car, shooting enemies, taking down, enemies in midair with kind of like bullet time, where you take down the enemies while you're, diving and falling back, shooting the different bad guys that are coming at you. And I thought it was all right. Now this game, Little Big Planet, this game screams innovation. It has the basic platforming elements that you'd find in some of the classics from the 8 and 16-bit era, but it really put the ball in gamers' courts to go out and develop any type of game that they wanted to, and it's pretty unbelievable to see what some gamers have been able to do. I know Pete Dorr was able to develop a level, and I played through it, and it's actually a little bit challenging for me, but the great thing I liked about this one is you can kind of sift through the different levels that gamers have made in the Little Big Planet community. There's millions of different levels. You can do a search on, say, like Mega Man. There's a level where I got to battle out with Dr. Wily, like the last battle that you face in Mega Man 2. They have that in here. The great thing is you can sift through the different levels and find the best or highest rated levels by gamers, and some of them are pretty unbelievable. There's a couple different like Mario Kart levels, there's a couple different like Super Mario World levels. It's pretty unbelievable to see what gamers have been able to do with Little Big Planet. I still need to pick up the second one because that gives you even more variety and opportunity to develop different types of games. So this one's definitely worth picking up, and I'm really looking forward to the sequel. Next game is a game that is going to have a sequel in the near future, and that is Batman Arkham Asylum. Wow, guys, this game is unbelievable. I finally finished it all the way through a couple weeks ago. One of the best games of this generation. And not only is it visually appealing, but the gameplay is unbelievable. An epic story to play through. I grew up reading the Batman comic books, loved the Batman franchise, and this is a game that really did the franchise justice. It did a phenomenal job. The voice acting is top notch to really kind of immerse you into this story. Great cutscenes, just a really fun and interesting area, world, island for you to explore. And man, this game is unbelievable, guys. There is a demo. Don't check out the demo. Just buy this one if it's not in your collection, because you definitely... The great thing about the PS3 version is it has exclusive Joker challenge maps, so it definitely has that added advantage. If you have a PS3 and Xbox 360, get the PS3 version. This game's unbelievable. I can't recommend that game highly enough. Okay, The Bourne Conspiracy. Love the Bourne movies. I've talked about this before. Kind of like a poor man's version of Splinter Cell. It's not horrible, but it's not that great. A third-person action shooter. It's an okay game. L.A. Noire by Rockstar Team Bondi. This is a huge area for you to explore with some very interesting characters that you'll meet. They really did their homework in terms of developing the culture and cultures that you'll find in this game. I know a lot of people where this is definitely different from Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead Redemption, but this is a great game nonetheless, and there's a lot of different DLC available to further your experience with this one. Okay, so the next game I'm going to show you guys is a game that was also on the original Xbox. It's one of my favorite original Xbox games of all time, and that's Ninja Gaiden Sigma. This is a phenomenal game. High quality, just a great game with an epic story to play through. And it seemed to me that this game wasn't as challenging as the one on the original Xbox, but this one definitely has updated graphics and more content to it. A phenomenal game. If you have a PS3, you need to pick this one up. Even if you're really just so focused on first-person shooters, you really need to have this game. This is one of the best. It does has extra stuff, and the Sigma or Extra version was not on the Xbox 360, so this is a great exclusive. They developed this, has more content, updated visuals, and just a blast to play through. If you can play this through from the beginning to the end, you'll definitely know what I mean in terms of an epic game that belongs in your collection. Heavenly Sword. This is a great third-person action-adventure game with some pretty epic moments. This is developed by Team Ninja. Of course, Team Ninja are the same folks that did Enslaved, and also the reboot or the new version of Devil May Cry. This is another game a lot of gamers did not get the chance to play, but it's worth checking out. Okay, the next game to show you guys is another game that was in development for quite some time. That's Heavy Rain. This is a really good game in terms of storytelling and the different choices you make. The different choices you make ultimately determine how the game ends, and just a game that you don't see every day. The developer said that there's probably not going to be a Heavy Rain 2, but there is a development demo available for Heavy Rain, but just an unbelievable soundtrack, amazing visuals. I like the fact that you can make those different choices, and not necessarily all the characters that you'll meet will, you'll be able to continue to play through depending on how you play this one. So definitely lends to replayability, and it definitely belongs in your collection. Okay, Ghostbusters the video game. I know a lot of movie or comic book or television show games aren't that good, but this one's actually pretty good. It has multiplayer. You can go on this online and play it with your friends. If you're a big fan of Ghostbusters, I highly recommend that you pick this one up. Okay, the next one is probably my worst PS3 game. I'm going to show you guys. It's actually one of the first ones I got from my PS3 collection. Terminator Salvation. Okay, this game is bad. This game is not good at all. When I got this one, I was playing it for the first hour or two. You're playing against these different enemies. I'm like, this game's not too bad. But the thing was the same enemies. I mean, the amount of different... I played this game for several hours, and it was the same enemies over and over again. It was the same objectives. Very repetitive. The voice acting was pretty painful. At moments, it's like, man, I'm like, this game is like I'm playing a PS2 or an original Xbox game. It's not very good. It's probably one of my worst, if not worst, PS3 games. Stay away from this game. I got this one. I got it for a really good deal. I'm like, I should have saved my money because it's not that great. Next one that is pretty great and is definitely worth the money, and that's Ratchet & Clank Tools of Destruction. This game is a great looking game. People out there have said it before, it's almost kind of looking at a high quality CGI movie. The gameplay is top notch. Kind of like almost like a comic book style storyline with some pretty epic moments in it. And this is a series that was very popular on the PS2. And there's a couple other options available. I think there's a downloadable Ratchet & Clank, one or two downloadable Ratchet & Clank games for the PS3, and then another disc-based, I think it's Kraken Time. But this is the first release on the PS3, and it's excellent. Star Wars Force Unleashed is another game that was released for different consoles and possibly handhelds. This is a great third-person action game. If you're a big Star Wars fan, you definitely should pick this one up, and also the sequel, Force Unleashed 2. Okay, right now I'm going to go over the games that I was able to pick up at EA. I've had a chance to go to EA Games on several occasions to play test some of the games that they're developing, and for playing the games that they develop, I have the chance to pick out any game that I want for free that they developed, and so I'll just go over some of those games. Obviously, I have a lot of games from EA that I purchased at the store, but these are games that I was able to get from EA. Let's see here. The first one is Dragon Age, which is a great RPG. Of course, this is available for the Xbox 360 and the PC, and BioWare did an amazing job. This is another game that was in development for quite some time, and really glad I was able to get this one. Army of Two, 40th Day. This is a great third-person shooter. I love this game. The only thing I really didn't like about this game was the last 2 hours. It really dropped the ball, in my opinion, with the direction that the story went. Kind of left you feeling like the game was unfinished, or it felt really rushed at the end. But in terms of most of the game, most of the playthrough of the game, they did a phenomenal job. I think there's going to be a third game in the series. I think EA is hiring, that's what the rumor is going around. Apparently there's going to be a new Army of Two game, and I'm definitely going to be picking that up if that's the case, because I love this game. Other than the drop ball at the end in terms of the storyline at the end, I thought this is a great game, and I really, really enjoyed it. Awesome co-op buddy, third-person shooter, and people still play. I was really surprised. The other day, I went online, and there's a bunch of people playing this game still. Still a pretty popular game online, at least when I went on, and it's very fun. Okay. Bad Company 2, one of my favorite first-person shooters. I cannot wait for Battlefield 3. It's going to be amazing. This is a great first-person shooter. I've put so many hours into this one. You know what, to be honest, I've probably put more hours online with this one than any other current generation game. Just a phenomenal game with some incredible sound effects. It feels like you really are in the war in terms of what's going on around you. Very realistic. I know this first-person shooter isn't for everyone, but I loved it. I think it's phenomenal. I think DICE did an amazing job with it. I played through the single-player campaign. The multiplayer is where I've obviously spent most of my hours, but I'm really glad I was able to pick this one up. It came out a few months, 3 or 4 months after Modern Warfare 2 came out. Before Modern Warfare 2 came out, I was like, oh man, Bad Company 2, no one's going to be really wanting to play that. But a lot of people that, decided not to play Call of Duty or Modern Warfare 2 anymore are still playing this and have impressed a lot of people, me included. So the last game that I got at EA in terms of the PS3 games, I was able to get Dead Space 2, the limited edition. This is a great game. I love the first Dead Space game. I have the first Dead Space game on my Xbox 360. And the great thing about the limited edition, it includes Dead Space Extraction. I think Extraction was first released for the Nintendo Wii, but just a great looking game. Pretty freaky. This is, though, the type of game, multiplayer is available for this, but in my opinion, I think the multiplayer kind of sucks. That's just my opinion. Maybe you guys like the multiplayer in Dead Space 2, but in my opinion, it's like, you don't need multiplayer. Why did the multiplayer for this game? It's not very good, but it is a great single-player game and highly recommend it. I was impressed with Extraction as well. That's a great game as well if you happen to pick the limited edition up or get Dead Space 2 with Dead Space Extraction. Great, great titles. Medal of Honor. This is a series that's been around for quite some time. In the PS3 version, the great thing about the PS3 version, it comes with an updated HD version of Medal of Honor Frontline, which is phenomenal. You get 2 games for the price of 1. This is not the limited edition, but apparently the limited edition includes where you'll get, it's just a couple days, but you'll get to check out the Battlefield 3 Battlefield 3 beta a couple days before everyone else if you have the Medal of Honor limited edition. So I know a lot of people are looking forward to that. To be honest, guys, I was really disappointed with the Medal of Honor multiplayer. You know, playing the campaign is a lot better in my opinion, but in terms of the multiplayer, it was a bit of a letdown. The next one, Unreal Tournament 3. This game first came out for the PS3 and then the PC. I got to play this game for quite some time, and it's a pretty good first-person shooter. Highly recommend it if you're a big Unreal fan. You don't have this one. In Unreal 3, the cool thing I like this, some of these maps or areas are pretty massive, and sometimes you get to point A to point B. You can travel on like a hoverboard, and that was actually pretty fun. And actually, I did have a lot of fun playing through this one. It has been out for quite some time, so you can probably find it for a pretty good price. So definitely check it out when you get the chance. Far Cry 2, just a massive area, open world, first-person shooter. This is another game that can be a little overwhelming for some people. So it definitely does take some patience. People are still playing the multiplayer for this one. Far Cry 3, one of the things that's a little bit crazy is the developer said that the areas or the scope, I'm not saying it right, in terms of the scale, that's what I wanted to say. In terms of scale, Far Cry 3 is 10 times bigger than Far Cry 2 and Far Cry 1, which is outrageous. Far Cry 2 is huge. And for it to be 10 times the scale, I'm really interested to check that out. I'm not sure how they're going to make that work out and still make it fun. But an interesting first-person shooter. Killzone 2. Now, Killzone 2, a lot of people were a little bit skeptical because a lot of people really didn't like the first Killzone game. There's some people out there that do like the first Killzone game that came out for the PS2. But this is a great first-person shooter. You know, at the time when it came out, had some of the best visuals ever known to man, with a pretty epic storyline, with the multiplayer that's pretty epic as well. I played through the story mode and really enjoyed it. A lot of people had complained in terms of the weighted controls. They really didn't like that. So for the sequel, in Killzone 3, the developers, there's definitely a different feel in terms of control or controls between Killzone 2 and Killzone 3. Killzone 3 I loved, and in my opinion I think it's a better game. It's a better multiplayer experience. This is another game I played through on the single player, and it's a pretty epic campaign. It's pretty unbelievable, and I've had a blast playing through the multiplayer. This is a game that it's a good example to show or demonstrate what the PS3 is capable of. It has you can play it on Move, or you can play it with a standard controller. You can play it with a 3D television or just a standard television. An unbelievably looking, great looking game. It's pretty outrageous. Apparently, the game has so much memory they barely were able to fill it up on one Blu-ray disc, which Blu-ray disc, a single side, has around 25 gigs of memory. Some pretty cool cutscenes. It's not like the super long cutscenes like in Metal Gear, but there's definitely some long cutscenes in this one. I had a blast playing through this one. I did pick up the Helgast edition for Killzone 3, and I'm really glad I was able to pick that up. And in the Helgast edition, it includes a replica helmet, which you can store your art book, and I think possibly the games. It has a Helgast Marksman, a really good art book. It's actually a high quality art book, and a super voucher, which includes, you can download the soundtrack, download a retro map pack, and some other stuff, some videos, bonus stuff. But all in all, it is a phenomenal game. It's one of those games that it's definitely worth picking up full price. They spent a lot of time and resources on Killzone 3, and I highly recommend that you check that one out. Fear 2. I know Fear 3 was recently released. I haven't had the chance to play this, but I really liked this one, and I really liked the multiplayer as well. There's people still playing the multiplayer on this one. Definitely some freaky moments in this game. Some pretty, really creepy enemies in this game, depending on the levels that you're in. A great looking game with a very freaky and interesting story. BioShock 2, love the first BioShock game. This game is pretty unbelievable as well. It had, you know, some new content, new features that were not in the first one. You can actually go in the water this time. But, you know, in terms of that, I felt like there wasn't that much innovation. The first BioShock game, like, man, this is a game that's very different. This is a good game, don't get me wrong, but I'm really looking forward to BioShock Infinite. It looks like a much different game in terms of the area that you're playing in. I really like this one, but like I said, I like the first one more. I did pick up, get this here, I did get the special edition at my local Walmart. It was like 30 bucks. This is actually a good special edition. It has an amazing art book. It has a CD soundtrack, an LP or record soundtrack. I'm trying to think, a bunch of posters, and actually I did an unboxing for this one. You can check that out when you get the chance. But like I said, I like the first one more, but it's definitely worth having in your collection. Great visuals, a really interesting storyline that, depending on how you play the game and how deep you want to dig, you can learn more about the story you're playing through, and that's good one. Okay, Resistance 2. This is a game that I love playing through a campaign, and the multiplayer is very interesting and very fun. The multiplayer has the option of just, there's people still playing this game, a lot of people still playing this game, and I'm really looking forward to the third Resistance game. This is a great looking game. That's some of the weapons that you'll find in Resistance 2. It's pretty outrageous. Some of the capability or damage that you can deal out is pretty awesome. Okay, the next game, definitely not as epic as God of War 3. Not really epic at all, but it is a PS3 launch title, and that is Dark Kingdoms Untold Legends. So this is a game actually that does have, it's an action RPG, it has multiplayer, it also has online multiplayer. It's not horrible, it's kind of just like an average action RPG. There's definitely a lot of other great PS3 games you can pick up instead of this one. This one's not that bad. Like I said, it's just average. So average all around. It's a launch title. You can definitely tell that this is a game in development and they weren't exactly sure. This definitely isn't a good example on what the PS3 can do. Let's just say that. But it's definitely worth giving a try if you see it for $5 or $10. White Knight Chronicles by Level 5. This is actually a decent RPG. A lot of people were turned off by this. I think a lot of Level fans were really disappointed by this one because Level 5 has developed some pretty phenomenal games. But I like this game. I thought it was pretty good. Of course, it has multiplayer, online multiplayer, and there's a single player story mode as well. There's going to be a sequel. I think a sequel's already available in Japan. I think the sequel's been out in Japan for quite some time. But I liked it, and I hope Level 5 will bring us more great titles in the near future, because they're a great developer. Final Fantasy XIII. This is another game that a lot of people were really disappointed with. I didn't think it was phenomenal. I thought it was pretty good. A lot of people hate this game, and some people love this game. Pete Dorr, I think, gave this game the Game of the Year in 2010, and I think there's going to be Final Fantasy X2, or this could be kind of like a follow-up to this one, in the fall. And so, I mean, it's okay. I was a little bit disappointed, but I think it's okay. It's alright. Dragon Age 2. Now, this is a game that a lot of people were disappointed in. This is definitely different than Dragon Age 1. Definitely a different feel. The visuals have been improved upon, and there's definitely a different feel from this one from the first one. I like Dragon Age 2. I thought it was pretty good. Of course, there's a bunch of different stuff that you can download from this game to enhance or to continue on with your Dragon Age 2 experience. And this is the Signature Edition, which includes some digital stuff like a soundtrack and some other DLC. But I think it's a great RPG. Okay, here's a game that was well received by gamers and critics alike, and that's Demon's Souls. This got Game of the Year from some major sites like GameSpot.com. This is a phenomenal action RPG that's extremely challenging. Definitely have to use your brain. You're not going to be able to plow through your game. You're going to die very quickly, and you're going to die often. But I know a lot of people are really looking forward to Dark Souls, which is coming out in the fall. This is a challenging game, guys. But if you're into action RPGs and you're up to a challenge, you really need to pick this one up. This is published by Atlas, developed by From Software, and it's pretty good. Okay, the next one is another one, in my opinion, that's underrated, and that's Valkyria Chronicles. This is a game that has a strategy, third-person shooting, RPG elements. This is a great game. It's unbelievable. Such a shame that I'm really bummed that the second and third one were on the PS3 and not really on the PSP, sorry, and not on the PS3. I was kind of bummed that more sequels weren't released for the PlayStation 3 console. This is a great game. It's something different, but something you definitely need to check out. One of the best games for the PS3, in my opinion. It's really good. Tom Clancy's EndWar. This is a strategy game in which you use or implement the different commands for your troops with your voice. Use this with the headset, and you command them to go to the different areas using your voice. In the beginning of the game, you calibrate your voice with your headset to match up so that the game will recognize your voice accordingly. And definitely an interesting strategy game, different from a lot of the ones you'll find out there. Okay, a great sports title that got a lot of awards, and that is MLB The Show 2009. This is a great baseball game. I was a little taken off at first. Definitely wasn't pick up and play, say, like some of the older baseball games that I found in the 8 and 16-bit era, but a great baseball game nonetheless. You're willing to kind of go a little bit further and learn the game, learn the pitching. It's just a great baseball game. So a lot of you guys already know this, but one of my favorite games for the Xbox 360 is Street Fighter 4, and I was able to pick it up for the PlayStation 3. Phenomenal game, one of the best fighting games for this generation by far. I was able to get the game a while back. It was around Black Friday. It was around the end of November for 2010, and I got the game and the Street Fighter 4 arcade stick by Mad Catz. I got both of these bundle for 30 bucks, and I got it at Walmart. They're just doing this amazing bundle. And so I do have the Street Fighter 4 game and the arcade stick. Phenomenal game. Huge fan of the series. It'll be really interesting to know when Street Fighter 5 gets revealed. Perhaps that won't be for a few more years. But I've been playing Street Fighter ever since, in the arcades with Street Fighter 2 and on the Super Nintendo, and I still play the game till this day. People still play it online, and it's just a very fun fighting game. My Sims Sky Heroes. I actually liked this game. I thought it wasn't that bad at all, because I'm a big fan of some of the flying games like Pilot Wings, and you can customize the different planes that you have. This does have online multiplayer. You go through the different challenges in the story mode, whether it's races or dogfights or different objectives. You have to take down a different structure with your weapons. And I thought it was pretty good. I liked it. There is a demo available, so you can kind of get an idea what this game's all about if you do download that demo. UFC 2009 Undisputed. This is a great fighting game. I was actually pretty surprised. I'm like, oh, they're just going to cash in on the UFC franchise. I've been watching UFC since the first UFC, with Royce Gracie and Ken Shamrock. And the UFC has come a long way since those early days of UFC, but this is a great, great game to have in your collection. There's also UFC 2010. There's online, definitely a different fighting game than some of the other fighting games out there like Fight Night. If you're into MMA, definitely pick this up. Okay, MotorStorm, the PS3, this was their answer to, of course, they had the Gran Turismo series. Before Gran Turismo 5 was released, you had some MotorStorm games. And when this was released, I remember going to my local store. I was looking, there was a demo of the PS3, and they had it on the television, on the LCD. And I could not believe what I was seeing. The visuals looked so phenomenal. I didn't really like MotorStorm as much as the next game I'm going to show you, just because I felt the controls... I really didn't like the controls that much. I had difficulty steering or keeping my vehicle from flipping over. I felt like it was flipping over too easily, and that's just the controls needed some work. But yeah, great looking game with some pretty amazing levels to play through. The next one I'm going to show you, I felt they improved upon the first MotorStorm game by leaps and bounds, and that's MotorStorm Pacific Rift. This is a great game. I got to play this one online and a whole lot of hours offline. I love this game. It's just one of the best racing games that I've ever played, and one of my favorite PS3 games of all time. Definitely recommend it. Of course, you have another one, MotorStorm Apocalypse, I believe, and I still need to pick that one up. But anyway, guys, that is my PS3 game collection. Any comments or questions about the games that I talked about today, please leave them in the comment section below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you later.